Hey everyone, welcome to the Rosenfeld Review, where we're just a bunch of blind guys trying to figure out that elephant. Today's blind guy is Mariano Suarez-Battan, co-founder and CEO of MURAL, which a lot of you are already using. I don't even have to mention it to you, explain it to you, what an amazing tool it is for a remote collaboration and really creativity. I'm really happy to have Mariano on the show today. And it's amazing that he's even in one place to do a podcast. I think you practically have your foot in the door, through the door of your car from your home to your office in the Bay Area. But I'll bet you, like, later today, you're flying down to Buenos Aires, and where are you going to be tomorrow? Mariano, where are you? So you are in the Bay Area today, right?
Hi Lou, thanks for having me. And yes, I am currently working from home in the Bay Area, going to the city later today to our office there.
Wow. So it's funny because I see you as someone who's always at conferences and always traveling. Of course, I see you at our conferences. Mural's been a great partner and sponsor pretty much of every conference Rosenfeld Media has done since the beginning when we did Enterprise UX in San Antonio back in 2015. And that was pretty early on for Mural, if I understand it. When did you guys get started, in 2014?
Yeah, just a clarification, right? So I tend to be in a lot of conferences, but where our customers are. I mean, I don't like being in like schmoozing conferences out there, but the you happen to create now three great events very targeted to the people that we serve. So yeah, I take the advantage of going to New York or San Antonio back in the day to learn from people, have prospects and customers talk to each other, and learn a little bit.
So,
So
so
coming
yeah,
back to your question, we started in startup years a long time ago, so 2011. And we had a video games company that we started in 2005. We created games for big brands, and then we published our own games, a soccer game in particular called Bola, 20 million people during 2010. During 2010, we got acquired by a company called Playdom and then by Disney. And my job switched from CEO to creative director. So I had to create new game ideas. And I was designing a new game about emotions, and I was using PowerPoint to collect inspiration, pictures of characters, storylines, game mechanic videos, and so on. And I realized when I was sharing work in progress, people were confused because they were expecting a story, and the story wasn't there yet. So I was going forwards and backwards with slides, and I was presenting, sharing, opening my brain, heart, this very fragile idea. In PowerPoint, people were judging more than helping out or co-creating or shoulder-to-shoulder collaboration, right? So I said, this is something that's wrong, that's missing in the digital collaboration realm, because I was working out of San Francisco a lot and my team was in Buenos Aires. Something that feels more ephemeral, something that people can iterate on versus a deck that feels more permanent. And that was the original insight in which we started building a prototype and so on back in 2011, 2012.
and so sounds like it was almost like an effort to kind of flatten the hierarchy of collaboration. You were presenting initially from decks, and people were sort of almost like consumers of your information. It sounds like that wasn't really working for you. And I like the way you put it. You wanted to have more of a shoulder to shoulder experience with the people you were interacting with remotely. So, so you have that realization, and you start working on a prototype. Is it kind of has it gone as you had expected? Is the functionality and the overall experience of Mural today what you envisioned back in 8-9 years ago?
Well, some things yes, something no. I mean, I have a little sketch of the idea I took a picture of that I compared with, and we definitely didn't know much about the all of the formal methodologies that started to become mainstream as today, right? You see everybody, or not everybody, a lot of people know about customer journey maps, experience map, jobs maps, the business model canvas, and all of those canvases became super popular. The methodologies around user research, entrepreneurship, customer journey, customer experience design, like in the last 8, 10 years, there's been like well, thanks to you and others, right? A lot of education around how to do it properly. We did a lot of these things very intuitively back in 2011, 2012, right? So I would say that in principle, yes, as you said, the sensation of, making like a peer-to-peer friendly collaboration and possibility to iterate, make it super visual, yes. But it was only in 2014 when we got into Ideo as a startup in residence in San Francisco, when we kind of like understood what we were doing. We did our first formal UX research. Most of the research that we're doing was more usability testing, but here we went in and we did a 3-month program where we kind of reflected on this design thinking process and doing design thinking, right? So we did a lot of user research, and the folks from IDEO introduced us from folks at Intuit, Stanford D School, Autodesk, and so on. We formalized all of that. We understood all of the pains, gains, and nervousness that comes through this innovation process. And after that, we realized a couple of things. One was that we had to focus not just on making this playground, this canvas, is super visual, easy to use, and so on, but we had to do a lot of investment around methodologies and helping people in different locations around the world go through guided methodologies through different templates to help them achieve.
So, obviously, a lot of learning about how remote collaboration could work. And you guys have been really like at the forefront of the commercialization of the technology, so you have probably a unique perspective on how people actually start improving their collaboration through tools like yours. But I want to turn it around and ask you if you can reflect on what you've learned about collaboration in general. So, when humans been collaborating, it's one of the things that makes us human is our ability to communicate and have shared purpose. But now that we can collaborate in these new ways, mediated by technologies like this, do you have any kind of insight on how collaboration kind of works in general for people?
Yes, we pay attention a lot at the intersection of what we call imagination work or visual work together with remote, right? Because most of our clients are global enterprises, right? And their teams, by definition, you cannot put more than 100, 200, 1,000 people in a room. So they need to at least be collaborating amongst buildings, right? So the digital component of the collaboration is very important. And it's something that a lot of people have to unlearn and relearn, right? People that are comfortable facilitating in a room, working with whiteboards, sticky notes, the smell of Sharpies, need to forget about that and give themselves to a new medium with hopefully the same type of methodologies. So that intersection of imagination work and remote work, we've seen a bunch of best practices. And by the way, we have a little ebook. If you go to mural.co/ebook, it's not published by Rosenfeld Media, but it's pretty good anyway, with a lot of tips and from the marketplace. But we have a bunch. So one is, don't assume people, this is for early on, uh, know how to collaborate remotely, right? Especially, it's easy to press a button, talk to someone. It's easy to chat into a box, but it's not easy to facilitate the room. It's not easy to have conversations and address everybody in an audience. It's not, not everybody in the audience will have the same level of tech savviness approaching the room. So there's a lot of things around preparing people to be in the same level playing field, right? In terms of audio, video, and access to a shared space. Whatever the shared space is, everybody needs to be a peer in that environment. If not, there will always be a second-class citizen. So that's around the setting up. Then around the facilitation, a lot of best practices around in-person facilitation can be teleported into the digital realm, right? And we encourage people to not just get started right away, but again, I mean, stretch those muscles, do a little bit of a mini exercise, audio and video friendly, so that people can also start using their virtual limbs to contribute to the more important meeting. Another thing that we've been seeing is the possibility to have people practice more, right? I mean, when people get together in a room to practice whichever activity or do a workshop, they're super engaged and so on. But those workshops only happen every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
In the digital realm, you can have more of those sessions more frequently, and all in all, level up the quality and the participation of these people. Right. The other thing that is a best practice in the in-person world, but it's necessary in the digital world, is also like addressing the whole room, right? Like, so remember people to turn on their video, try to look at people in their eye or their virtual eye or their little box in the video conferencing system that you prefer, and don't forget to have everybody be able to speak up. The beauty, though, is that everybody can contribute written, right? So having access to that canvas allows the introverts also to participate, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that we're seeing more and more, and engineers appreciate.
Interesting, especially that the power dynamics change with a tool like Mural. You talked about introverts being a little more comfortable. Earlier, you talked about the kind of flattening the presenter-presentee relationship into something a little more collaborative. A lot of platforms are having this type of impact in terms of changing power dynamics, often in a good way, getting people from different silos or different functions to work together more collaboratively. I mean, we see this with research repositories, with design systems, with a lot of tools. And I wonder, from your perspective, are you seeing that sort of change in the power dynamic as a reason people would buy a tool like Mural in the first place, or is it always like a sort of a byproduct of them buying the tool and then coming to you and saying, by the way, this has really had a change in our culture and how we work?
Yeah. So definitely the first time is like, okay, oh, we cannot fly, or when someone is missing or whatever, let's go online, right? So and then people like grow into it, like
Hmm.
as they practice, as they feel comfortable, and they realize, hey, we did it the same thing or even better on this area. Of course, we miss each other, hugging each other, or whatever benefits when you're in person. But there's a lot of other benefits of being remote too, right? Um, Carbon footprint and others, of course. But something that you mentioned before is like leveling and leveling the playing field, which is true. Like the other thing that we see, we have like a voting functionality, and it's of course it's more secret than the in-person voting with dots, because once something starts to become the winner, I mean, well, you add one more to the winner, right? You always want to be winner, or whatever the CEO or the leader voted on. Maybe there's some magnetism towards that one. This one, it's private, so that, I mean, people appreciate that one. That being said, people like and feel comfortable and get much more productive when there is a facilitator guiding them. And it could be a professional full-time facilitator, and we're seeing more and more of those getting hired, like in Kaiser Permanente, for example, one of our clients, they hired a full-time facilitator, and we see more of that coming. But whoever has the role of facilitation, right? So like meeting leaders and so on. So we also embrace a little bit of that. So at its core, we're still going to be a peer-to-peer environment. Everyone can contribute, everyone can vote. But we through research, we realized that there were a lot of times there were either educators or meeting leaders that had like a special rank and a special set of tools to help guide people set the timer, set the voting session, set the templates, guide people through sections of the template so that they could time box the activities, which is, again, in the digital realm, you generally have less time, so you need to be careful of that. As well as, yeah, ultimately get people to achieve more, rate the meeting, and get better at it the next time. So yes, it's peer to peer, but we also, celebrate the facilitator.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast. If you want more, not only do we have a whole bunch of podcasts in our archive, but we have something that's very current, very alive, and very engaging for groups, and that is our communities. Rosenfeld Media runs a variety of communities that meet on a monthly basis for video conferences on a variety of topics near and dear to UX people, ranging from enterprise experience to advancing research to design and research operations. I want to encourage you to join one of our communities. Again, it is free by going to rosenfeldmedia.com/communities. Not only will you get a monthly video conference that you can listen in on and participate in, ask questions, and so forth. We'll give you access to the recordings. And for some of those communities, we're talking about dozens of recordings with really interesting presenters and facilitators. You'll also get a newsletter. You'll get access to an advice columnist. Yes, we actually are providing advice columnists for each community. And finally, if you're interested in our conferences, our communities correspond to our conferences. So you will be the first to know when programs go live, when tickets go on sale, and by the way, most of our conferences sell out, and other good things about our conferences, such as when the scholarship applications open up. So go to rosenfeldmedia.com/communities. You're going to find something that's free, something that's interesting, and it's a great opportunity to find your tribe as well. We'll see you there. So you have a lot of flexibility. I wonder if you've had to apply that in some aspect of how the tool is designed to scenarios where you have a mix of remote and in-person team members. In other words, you don't just have a purely remote group, you have a mix. Some people may be sitting side by side, and some people may be on the other side of the planet. It seems like a cleaner design challenge when everyone is remote. But do you have do you find that the dynamics change dramatically when three people in the meeting are sitting together and three are remote, let's say? And do you have to design the tool to accommodate for that?
Yes, 100%. It's hard when it's fully remote or fully in person are the simplest. Hybrid environments, mixed environments are more complicated because, yeah, the center of gravity is where there's more people concentrated, right? Again, more on this in our little ebook. But yeah, one of our design principles is around providing flexible structure, right? So we, as I said in the beginning, like the first version of Mural was super flexible. You could do whatever you wanted. When we started doing IDO, we realized we needed to bring in a lot of templates and the possibility to build these templates and the possibility for enterprises that have hired like a lot of designers to build their playbooks, like IBM Design early on, or when people hire Luma Institute or many other folks that train others in best practice in design. We need to build those structures, but in a flexible way. So if you need to change or improvise, no problem. Right? But people early on, they like to follow instructions. As they get more comfortable, they improvise. So we wanted to provide a space, a platform for the content of these workshops to be able to be done properly. Now, when it comes to location, right, and as you said, in physical presence, yeah, we try to think of this as much as a like an omni-channel shopping, right? Omni-channel collaboration, because people say, yeah, well, I'm not remote, but I don't know. Right now I'm remote, and in a little bit I'm going to be in the office, which is one of our offices. We have a couple, so uh, I'm mobile more than remote or in person,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, I like my work to be portable and help. Come with me and be able to access and contribute wherever I might be. Now, when people are in a room, one of the trends that we've seen, besides again remote work, besides visual methods becoming standard, the third trend that we're surfing on is huge touchscreens. Remember the first one that we brought into?
It was just enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Again,
quite a rig.
something that we do in all of your events is bring in these 84-inch, 55-inch touchscreens that have been getting better and better and better. Microsoft being an early adopter, but there's many others coming into the market too. So we see that all project rooms inside, at least corporations, enterprises that can afford them because they're still expensive, but more and more the price will go down, right? So we see those big touchscreens will be in all project rooms, which are great catch-all for the folk that is in a meeting online, right? 3 people in a room, 2 remote, and the person in that room says, "Oh, let me whiteboard this for you," because maybe they only have one video camera, right, or one Zoom, one Microsoft Teams or WebEx Teams meeting there, and then all of a sudden the guys on the other end say, what is he drawing on the whiteboard, right? And they need to point the whiteboard, and that sucks. That's a bad experience. So having those big touchscreens helps. Also, another best practice we recommend is that even though you might have a big video feed when there's a lot of people in one room, all of them need to have access to the shared space, right? Whichever it is, but have that access to a canvas via an iPad, via a laptop, via
Hmm.
whatever it is, all of them leveled up, being able to contribute individually. And then we see some large consultancies that have have designed their workshops so that people can come in and contribute directly into these big touchscreens. So they pre-populate the environment and so forth. And we've seen like one of the top 4 consultancies bring in VPs of like large financial services companies and run all digital workshops when they're in person. None of them using their own personal devices, but participating using these large touchscreens, using predefined templates, and they're blowing people's brains away with their amazing orchestrated workshop that they do.
Wow. So you've given us a really good portrayal of what people are doing now. Um, Maybe a good last question would be: think about 5 years from now. What kind of problems are people going to be solving using technologies like Mural? Will it be very different from what they're doing today? And what's the tool going to look like? Is it going to have to change dramatically over those 5, maybe even 10 years?
So there's a couple of things. So first of all, in order for, call it humankind or imagination workers, to be able to be more productive, we need to like have these methodologies, this visual collaboration language, be as universal as possible, right? So kids need to be able to work visually, to draw what's inside their heads, to sketch. Adults need to remember that they were kids once, and it's okay to draw, to sketch, and show their ideas, right? It's also important to have these guided methods, right? These workshops also be standard so that we don't lose so much time in teaching people what a journey map is, what does this mean, what does that mean. We just get and do it, right? So there's something around in making these way of working standard. Then, as I said before, there's also something around helping people become better at being remote workers or digital workers, right? Like getting better at, don't use that crappy microphone. Use a good one because it's important, or how to change the frequency of their Wi-Fi so it's better. So little things like that on the technical side, and then things like turn on the camera, speak slowly, address the audience, move in this virtual space, and so on. Now, when it comes to the software to assist you, I think assisting is a very important word. I also use coaching. I think that the software, our software in particular, will help you, will coach facilitators and participants to become better at these things, right? So imagine that you're being stuck and say, hey, what do you think of this, think of that, or tips and guides for the facilitator to address, hey, Lou in the back there is not talking that much. Maybe you need to ask him a question. So a little more on the coaching to become a better facilitator, coaching to become a better participant. That's probably one of the big things that we'll be seeing as AI as a helper, as an assistant to become better at what we achieve, in addition to learning the methods that are important out there.
Uh,
And of course, there's going to be much more improvement on the thinking canvas, right? In looking for insights, patterns, in the diagrams being drawn by themselves. No need to like do every single thing manually. And so there's a little science fiction. Last thought, AR and VR, right? Like there's a lot going on there. Uh, it's going to be tough that in the next 5 years it becomes mainstream, right? I mean, we're seeing people have really good workshops with video and online canvases, right? I mean, they are getting their jobs done. They're moving ahead with their innovations and so on. And if you need to gear up with a heavy like piece of glass on your eyes and so forth to have a conversation and collaborate, I mean, we need to like get that miniaturized to make it worth it.
mhm.
Coming, but not the next 5 years. It's probably a longer term like that.
But in the meantime, it sounds like you might be investing pretty soon in machine learning to help with that coaching that you foresee. Are you actually starting to make plans for that?
100%, right? Like one of the benefits of working with the I mean, one of our new investors is Gradient, which is Google's AI firm. Then IBM, which is one of our clients, and Microsoft, one of our partners, is that we have access to a lot of smart people using our software that care about that, as well as services that we can take advantage of. As a matter of fact, there was recently a little article on a group at IBM using Mural to educate and teach a natural language processor algorithm, or not algorithm, but machine learning.
Hmm.
So definitely we'll see more and more of that. Yes.
Mariano, thank you so much. One last question for you before we break. I always like to ask if there's someone you want to call out or something, a book, an article. What comes to mind?
So I mentioned the startup in residence at Ideo. That was in 2014. And part of the program, besides learning a lot and bringing some of their DNA into our culture, they kindly introduced us to a lot of people. And in particular, Tim Brown, former CEO at Ideo, introduced me to Phil Gilbert, which is current head of IBM Design and a great early adopter. Right? I mean, they introduced them because they introduced me because they needed to understand how to scale design thinking to hundreds of thousands of people. And the introduction was in March, and Phil was hosting something in South by Southwest, and I hopped on a plane. I met him on a coffee shop there. I told him about Mural, and he kindly introduced me to someone in his team who was paying attention to virtual studios. And those are the little mini leaps of faith that certain early adopters do that change the delta of your company. I didn't know it back then, but IBM today's, again, huge customer, huge partner, and Phil took the risk with a tiny little startup, Argentinian founder that had just immigrated into Silicon Valley. And I'm going to be forever thankful for that leap of faith. And of
Well,
course, Tim's introduction.
yeah, Phil Gilbert. A lot of people who listen to this podcast probably know a lot about him in terms of his role of really scaling design at IBM. But that this is some nugget that you probably didn't know. So thanks for sharing that, Mariano. And thank you for joining us today, Mariano Suarez-Battan's co-founder and CEO of Mural, a tool that you probably know. And if you don't, you should go to mural.co and check it out, because you're probably going to need it soon if you haven't
And Lou,
already.
remember that we're going to be sponsoring all of your events this year again. So advancing research, enterprise experience, and design ops. Please come say hello there. We'll be bringing the infamous big touchscreens.
Say hi to all of us. All right. Thank you, Mariano. Thanks for listening to the Rosenfeld Review, brought to you by Rosenfeld Media. If If you like our show, please subscribe and review it on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast platform. I'd love it if you tell a friend to have a listen. And please check out our website for over 100 podcasts with other interesting people. You'll find them all at rosenfeldreview.com.